Hello and welcome to Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. We're broadcasting out of WLBE My 790 AM out of Leesburg, Florida, and if you're watching us on Lake Sumter Television, you're watching us on Comcast Channel 13, Bright House 498, and Century Prism Link Channel 83. With the events coming up in the near future, I've invited 2017's chair for March of Dimes, Lake Sumter, Mr. Gus Grizzard of ERA Grizzard Real Estate. Gus, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, first, I've always been told that I have a face. I'm actually very excited to actually be on the radio because everybody's told me that, I have a face built for radio. So this is actually pretty exciting.
Quite the compliment.
No, it's very, very fortunate to be here today and talk a little bit about the March of Dimes and the March for Babies. I was born and raised right here in Leesburg, actually. And, my wife and I have been married for 25 years. And 12 years ago, we were blessed with my daughter, Olivia. But she was born 27 weeks gestation. So she was born 2 pounds, 11 ounces.
Wow.
And, as you can imagine, you and I were talking a little bit off earlier about the March of Dimes, and everybody knows or is aware that March of Dimes is out there, and everybody's aware that, okay, it has something to do with babies. But in May of 2004, we were very much the recipient of the goodwill that March of Dimes does. We spent 71 days in the hospital. We're very blessed and very lucky that she is thriving and doing remarkably well. But because of the impact that March of Dimes had on our family, they have got a full supporter and brand ambassador for life. And we had a great event last year with the March for Babies. And, you come out of something like that and you're all pumped up and, you feel good about the event and the opportunities that it created. And Annabelle Croy, she's a local representative for March of Dimes. She's so unbelievably amazing. She grabs me right at the conclusion of the event. We're walking off and everybody's pumped up. Everybody's giving high fives, feeling good about it. She's like, Gus, I'd like for you to be our chair next year. And so, of course, I quickly said, well, if you can get this approved by my CEO, my home office, my home office. But no, Lori and I were very, very eager to give back, not just time, not just money, but really the mission of gaining awareness of this amazing organization. And so, yes, I jumped at the opportunity to be this year's chair of March for Babies, which is actually taking place on Saturday, May 6th, down at the National Training Center down in South Lake Hospital campus in Claremont.
Okay. And that's Saturday, May 6th.
Yep.
So what is this event? What does it entail? And again, like we were speaking earlier, everybody's heard of March of Dimes, March for Babies. And we talk about the events coming up. What is it?
The actual event. Now, March for Babies is actually March of Dimes' largest fundraiser of the year. It actually started back in 1970 as the Walk of America, and it's just gradually just evolved every single year. And that's another reason why I'm so excited about this year is that it's not just a fundraising opportunity. Obviously, raising funds for research and so forth is critically important, but we also want to make sure that it's the awareness piece of it, like what we were talking about, and knowing that prenatal vitamins and an awareness piece of it as mothers become pregnant. The awareness piece of it is really kind of just as much of a task or a mission for me personally, because this year our goal was $200,000 for Lake and Sumter, but I want a participation goal. Again, that would really kind of demonstrate the awareness outreach that we're trying to achieve.
And the only way you can do that is by getting that information out there. Now, when you were talking about prenatal vitamins and things like that, for many people, I think the perception is that it's only the end result. Like there's March of Babies or March of Dimes only helps those with immediate issues, but you're talking like preventative things as well, right?
Yeah.
So there's quite they do a lot more than what
exactly. It's not just premature babies. It's not just for birth defects. There's actually lobbying efforts to fight for health insurance for all pregnant women. Again, as I'm getting involved with the organization more and more, you're discovering things like that. It's not necessarily just providing comfort and information for families that actually have babies in the intensive care units, but the big mission is the research piece of it, to make sure that one day there aren't premature births, there aren't birth defects, and again, it's always looking forward down the road. And as much preventative initiatives that more people don't realize.
Which, again, for me is very profound. We tend to have our blinders on. Like, yes, I know what that is. Yes, I know what that is. And there really is a bigger picture. And we'll touch. We have the whole show to talk about this. But while we have the opportunity, if someone right now wanted to get more information on anything that March of Babies does or March of Dimes, where can they get this information?
Well, it's really simple. If they go to marchforbabies.org, okay, that by itself is a huge resource of information. But if we want to specifically talk about March for Babies, sign up. They go to marchforbabies.org and sign up for the Lake Sumter event. What we're asking people is go in, sign up, get either your office to participate as a group, you as an individual, and we're throwing a challenge out there. Like I said, our goal is 200,000, and if each person just had $100 goal individually, I think we could easily knock that goal out of the water. But marchforbabies.org, and then sign up for the Lake Sumter event.
And that's another important aspect as well. It doesn't have to be individual. If you wanted to generate in an office environment, you have team captains, correct?
Right.
So how does someone get involved in things like this? I mean, I understand you can go to the website and register. Is it separate? Is there a different way to register for teams?
Well, I think I can only speak for my own company. We use this, not just obviously the mission and fundraising, but this is an opportunity to really do some team building within your companies. We have several offices and we create team captains in each office, and it's a friendly rivalry competition to see who can raise the most per person funds.
Sure.
And then of course we're all going to be kind of celebrating the day of the event. But no, it's just a great way to, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's the people, the members of your family and your immediate household, but really the opportunity to take this back to your employer and say, look, this is something that we can really get around and use this as a real team building opportunity.
Absolutely. Now, businesses are doing this and coming up with their teams, what have you. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to me who the sponsors for this year's events are? And when I say explain, because is it the individual donors, small businesses, or do you have major sponsors?
We do, and that really is where a lot of the fundraising efforts are. And we couldn't do the things that we do or are going to do without the generous support of our sponsors. And if you let me, I'd like to recognize a couple of our national sponsors, which are Kmart, Famous Footwear, Macy's, Cigna, and Hospital Corporation of America. Now, I'd also like to give a real super huge shout out to our regional sponsor, Publix. Publix Supermarket has been one of our champions for a long time, and just last year raised almost $7.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of money and a lot of support. They actually raised here in Lake Sumter $127,000. So So thank you to Publix for being such a champion for babies and helping us raise that money and awareness. Now, obviously, we have our local sponsors. Gold sponsors this year, ERA Grizzard Real Estate, whoop, whoop,
Right.
and South Lake Hospital. Those are our gold sponsors. Our pace setter silver sponsors are Central Florida Health and Lassiter Wear. Silver includes Catrale. Bronze sponsors Business Techs, Insight Credit, Closing Boutique, and United Southern Bank.
So there's a lot out there.
It takes a lot.
Well, thank you very much, Gus. We need to take a break right now, but when we return, we'll continue our conversation with Gus Grizzard. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
Hello, and welcome back to Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and my guest today is Mr. Gus Grizzard of ERA Grizzard Real Estate. So before the break, we were talking about some of the sponsors that March of Dimes has, March for Babies, more specifically. And there's a long list, national, regional, and even local.
Right.
So if a local company wanted to become a sponsor, is there still time for this year?
Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Okay.
Actually, the deadline for fundraising actually is May 4th. So there's lots of time to get your team together. But again, you got to go back to marchforbabies.org. You can either sign up for a team that's already registered or start your own team.
Okay. So now I'd like to come back to the event. What if you wanted to participate, what could you expect?
Okay. Here's the cool thing. So if for the people that know me, I like to make sure if we're going to do something, we're going to do it right. And last year's event was amazing. And so, we want to continue to evolve on that. But one of the unique things that we're doing this year that we haven't in the past is that we have a real focus on three things. This year, we're going to hope, we're going to remember, and we're going to celebrate. First, the hope is that one day, like I said before, there will be a day where there aren't any premature births, there aren't any defects. So a lot of it's going to be surrounded around hope. We're going to remember, we're going to remember those babies that did not make it. Unfortunately, last year there were 1,300 babies that actually passed away before their first birthday. So a big piece of this is going to be remembering those babies. And then finally, we're going to make it a celebration. We're going to make it a celebration of those babies that have gone through this NICU, this experience, and it's not just the babies, it's those families and those loved ones around them. We're going to celebrate them, and we're actually going to have some fun events and capes for those babies that have kind of graduated from the NICUs, so they can kind of like a superhero kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's all about hope, remember, and we're going to celebrate.
And that's great. So it's not just showing up and marching or going for the walk. It's actually more of a celebration, like an event again.
Absolutely, and the course, it's actually about the distance of a 5K, and the campus down at the South Lake Hospital is an amazing event, amazing venue, but it's a beautiful morning. That last year, and I've ordered a special beautiful morning weather-wise for this year. But it's going to be, there's some hills, and it's just a great opportunity to be outside, celebrate your team, and just be involved with something and really, truly give back.
On something that matters.
That's right.
Now, I'm glad to hear the weather. But what if, let's say I don't want to, but people need to know. Next year, if it were to rain and we were going to next year's event,
right?
Does it get rescheduled, or what happens if there's inclement weather?
Well, let me explain something to you. You have got to meet Annabelle, because rain, shine, snow, sleet, this is a mission, and this is going to go off on May 6th, rain or shine. And I promise you, whether it rains, whether it snows, it's still going to be an amazing event. And So no, it's still going to go on, rain or shine. Check your weather, and if it looks like it's going to rain, bring a pair of pants to change into afterwards.
Right. And if it did snow, that would just make it that much
Oh,
more
yeah.
special.
Exactly.
May 6th, snow.
That's right.
So what if something comes up and I haven't had an opportunity to donate my money yet, or I just can't I can't make it. What happens? How can I give my money?
Well, again, you go to marchforbabies.org. And, the beauty of technology these days is that, credit card, PayPal, online donations, it's all there. All the different options are available. And like I said before, March 4th is the deadline. So it doesn't matter if it's $10, $100, $1,000, one person, two people, or an entire office. We're just reaching out to people just to get involved, raise money and bring awareness.
And if someone can't make it or can't donate, are there other ways to get involved?
Absolutely. There's always things happening throughout the year. Again, if they want to, I would encourage anybody that does want to get involved, reach out to Annabelle. You can either reach her at 352-942-3780, or you can email her at acroy@marchfordimes.org. She's an amazing lady and amazing organizer. And if you want to help, regardless if it's financial or participation, she'll put you to work.
And again, that's the kind of stuff I'd like our listeners to really get, because some people may not have the financial ability or may not have the means to organize.
I'm a firm believer that sometimes sweat equity is more valuable sometimes. So
exactly. So, what happens? And I'm just going to be frank with you, because there's a lot of organizations out here nowadays. Where does the money go? You spend this time and effort for a extremely noble cause, a great cause. A cause that's been around since 1938.
Right.
Where does the money go?
Yeah, I know. Trust me, over the last several years, we've been involved with fundraising and this, that, and other, and I've always get posed that question is, listen, I know how these organizations work. Pennies on the dollar actually go towards the research. But here's another reason why I love this organization is that 76 cents out of every dollar actually goes towards the research and development of these vaccines and preventative research, so these mothers can carry their babies full term. 76 cents out of every dollar. So the mainstream media and all these different things, they actually put the money where it's supposed to go.
76 cents.
76 cents out of every dollar.
That's And again, Gus, I'm not trying to
It's
be
an awareness.
skeptical, but
It is
there's
an
so
awareness.
many things out there.
Look, I get
That's good news.
Well, here you combine that with every time we do an event or something, we always ask raise your hand if you have had a premature or birth defect or this, that, or other. Certain amount of people raise their hand. Then we ask, okay, do you know somebody that has had a birth defect or a premature baby? Then those people raise their hand. Then we ask, okay, did you have an APGAR or this test or that test, prenatal vitamins, this, that, and other? And by the end of the discussion, everybody in the room has their hand up. Again, it goes back to people aren't necessarily really aware how far-reaching of an impact March of Dimes has. And then you combine that with they actually put the fundraising money to where it's supposed to go. That's why I'm such an avid supporter of this cause.
It has reached us in one way, shape, or form.
Well, and that's the thing. People don't realize it until it actually, there's an event, a life event that causes that interaction or involvement. And that's, again, what we're trying to do here is create an opportunity of awareness in addition to the fundraising piece of it. The why behind everything.
Right. And again, just trying to get that information out
Exactly.
there. If you're sitting out there wondering why I should be involved or I want to be involved in something, why March of Dimes? That's it.
Yeah. Honestly, here's a couple of, if you will.
Yes, sir, please.
Now, this is last year only in Florida. Over 22,000 babies were born preterm. That's 10%. 1 out of every 10 babies was born preterm. Almost 6,800 of those babies were born with a birth defect. I mentioned this before. Unfortunately, tragically, 1,300 of those babies never made it to their first birthday. And premature birth defects, they're the leading cause of infant mortality. Those are just the physical reasons. I don't think people understand the economic impact of this as well.
Exactly.
1.2 billion, that's billion of financial impact to the local economy with health care costs.
The local economy.
Yes, and that's just in Florida. 1.2 billion just in Florida. The medical expenses and what they call societal expense, 1.2 billion of preterm births.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So like I said, there's so many different facets of awareness and how this organization and their mission is so critically important.
Wow. Gus, that is an enormous amount of information. And unfortunately, you can't get it all out there in one 30-minute show.
Sure.
So, again, where can people get information?
Very simple. Go to marchforbabies.org. That's where you're going to find out a lot of information about the event. Make sure you sign up for the Lake Sumter event. And that's going to tell you more than you ever want to know about the event, March of Dimes. And again, the why behind this is so critically important.
I encourage everybody out there, all of our listeners and our viewers on Lake Sumter Television, if you want a cause worthy, I think this is it. I truly do.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming. This has been Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and that's all we have for today. So we'll see you next time.